All right, let's jump in. My youngest daughter graduated from preschool this week. I don't know if it's worth clapping over. Listen, I have 4 kids, so I will say this one's hitting a little different because she's the baby. The other 3, it was like, good, go to school. You know what I'm saying? Like this one, it's like preschool, oh no, and she just keeps growing up. We have this nightly tradition where I squeeze her to negate the growing she did that day, trying to get her back down. Tried to cancel her birthday this year, she wouldn't have it. She insists on growing up. And it's, hit me in the heart a little bit more than the other ones. But here's the weird part. I see her every day, and she looks the same. Every single day she looks the same. If you ask me, does she look different today than she did yesterday? I'd be like, no. And you could ask that 100 times in a row, and I would never say it. Like, she looks the same day in, day out. But when I look back, man, is she different. Where did my little baby girl go? We were just sitting down yesterday. Me and her, we were going back through some old pictures on the phone. I'm like, there's baby MJ, there's baby MJ. And everything is different. Day by day, I can't tell a difference. It really appears that nothing changes. She doesn't seem taller. She talks the same. She looks the same. But when I look back, where did that little girl go? And isn't that wild? Isn't that wild even if you don't have kids? Like that experience of day by day, nothing seems different. But when you look back, everything has changed. Isn't that crazy? Like you can have that experience over and over and over again. Like if you asked you, is there anything different today? Is there anything different today? You would say no 100 times in a row. But then when you look back, everything's changed. Everything's changed. So we're in this series called Blind Spots, where we are looking at things that are easy to spot in others, but hard to see in ourselves. Things that you can easily spot in the people around you, but you can't see in the mirror. And the blind spot we're going to look at today is kind of like my 5-year-old insisting on growing up. It's a day by day, nothing changes, but when you look back, everything is different, kind of a blind spot. This one creeps in. If it happened all at once, you'd notice and you'd do something about it, but it doesn't. It's not how this one works. It's like a glacier moving or a tree growing. If you stared at it, you wouldn't notice it, but over time, you'd be like, oh, that's different. So the blind spot we're going to look at today is found in the book of Revelation. Not the scary part of that book, familiar with the beginning part where Jesus writes these 7 letters to 7 churches back in that day. He writes a specific one to this church in the city of Ephesus, and that this church has the blind spot we're going to look at today. It's in Revelation 2, 4 and 5. But I have this complaint against you. You don't love me or each other as you did at first. Look how far you have fallen. So Jesus is talking to this church, and he says, hey, things are different, He's like, you used to love me different. You used to love people like on a whole different level. And then he says, look, because what he said, he's acknowledging they haven't noticed. They're not seeing it because day by day nothing's changed. But now he's like, look back, and they're realizing everything is different. There's a huge difference in their love. So the blind spot that I want to look at today, I know Jesus didn't use this word, but what he's saying has happened is they have allowed apathy to creep in to their relationship with God and to their relationship with others. Apathy. So I want to give you a couple of definitions of apathy just so we're all on the same page. Apathy, number 1, means to lack passion, interest, or concern. You could just stop with the lacking passion. Number 2, a state of indifference where an individual shows a lack of motivation, initiative, or emotional response, indifference. And then number 3, when you know something matters, but you no longer care enough to act. I think we've all been there in different places in our life, but man, is apathy a dangerous blind spot to have. 1, because you don't notice it. You don't notice it. I think inherently, if you put passion on one end of the continuum and apathy on the other, you don't go from passionate to apathetic overnight. That never happens. Never. Even if you're like, hold on though, what if something happens? Usually, if you're positively passionate about something and something negative happens, you don't go to apathetic, you go to a different kind of passion. Right? You go angry passion instead of happy passion, right? It takes a while. I think inherently passion gets squeezed out of you over time and you don't notice it. And it's important because it happens in some of the most important areas of your life, right? You can see apathy creep in your job, right? Remember when you first started working at the place and you were all excited and this is going to be different and this is going to be a great place and you read their mission statement and it looked good and you got behind it all and you were there. But then over time, slowly, your passion transforms into apathy. It can happen in your relationships. Remember when you first got together, you had all the warm fuzzies and you were both so intentional and you wouldn't hang up the phone. You hang up and you had all that going on. You didn't do that. Unless you started in high school like I did. I thought it's been a while. But then over time, it just kind of cools. And apathy can creep into your spiritual life as well. With your relationship with God. Remember when you used to be on fire for Jesus? Remember when you used to read your Bible and pray and you were getting after it, building God's kingdom, doing all that stuff. But then over time, slowly, life just kind of squeezes God out of the center, off to the side. Apathy, man, it can creep in the worst places in our life. And what I want to acknowledge is that's really bad, because passion versus apathy, if I asked you the question, which kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live an apathetic life or do you want to live a passionate life? Nobody picks that, right? And I just kind of want to not care about anything, float through life. Like, no, you don't. You want to be a passionate person because you recognize that passion is incredibly important in your life. It's like the X factor of everything, right? Put two teams up against each other. The passionate team will win. Matter of fact, you could put two teams, even if one has more talent than the other one, passion will make up that difference, right? Passion is that kind of important. Passion overcomes obstacles and roadblocks in your life. Apathy, man, you got a tiny little pebble in the road, it'll stop you. Passion is like the soil where vision grows in your life. You realize that? Like a passionate person has vision and purpose, but apathy, it's like a desert. That's where purpose goes to die. Passion gives you endurance. Passion can keep you going even after your muscles start to burn and your lungs start to labor. You can keep going. Apathy has no stamina. And passion makes you brave. Passionate people will take risks for the thing they're passionate about. Apathy makes you a coward. You don't care enough to take a risk. Passion is so vital for your life. You need passion in your purpose. You need passion in your relationships. And you need passion in your spiritual life. You need it. Do you realize how important it is? So if you took two couples and you said, okay, which one's in more trouble? And you had one couple that was fighting like loudly, like missiles going back and forth, and they're angry, and the volume's always at level 10. And then you compared that to a couple over here who's also having problems, but they're not really talking much, and they're not really fighting, and it's really quiet, and it feels kind of cold. And you had to pick, well, which one's worse off? I can tell you I know which one's worse off. Because you would think, well, this one's quieter, maybe this one's better off, because at least when I walk into their house, a vase won't hit me in the head as I walk by, right? No. The quiet, cold one is closer to the relationship being over than the loud, angry one. Because these two still have passion. They're still fighting. It's when you stop fighting and you go, I don't care anymore. That's the last step before it's over. Think about that. That's how important passion is. That even if it's a little twisted, it's still that important to the relationship before you go to, I just don't care anymore. Passion is vital. So what I want to do is I want to give you 3 things your passion needs in your life because you need passion. 3 things your passion needs because you need passion. The first one, it's going to take me a while to kind of set it up. So the first thing your passion needs kind of flies in the face of the way our culture thinks right now. Because, okay, so if you're sitting here, if you're listening, you're like, okay, so passion's important, got it, don't want to be apathetic, it could be dangerous, it could slip in, and all of a sudden I could not care, and that's going to be a really big problem in a lot of areas of my life. But then you could be like, all right, but I don't control that, Like I can't make myself passionate, right? I can't just flip a switch. That doesn't just happen, right? I can't control how I feel. Wouldn't it be cool if you could, though? Wouldn't it be cool if you woke up in the morning and there's a drop-down menu, it gave you 10 options for how you felt in the morning. You pick your top 3 for the day. Wouldn't that be awesome? Be energetic. I'd be extroverted on Sunday. That's just specifically the day for me. That'd be great. Or if it was like yesterday, like yesterday was a little cloudy, a little rainy, you could pick like, I'm gonna be a little slower, a little reflective today. Like, that would be awesome if you could just pick it. But you can't, right? You wake up and what you feel is, you kind of got to deal with, you kind of got to navigate life in that state. So I get it. You don't feel like you can pick feelings, which means you don't feel like you can pick passion. But I want to show you, in light of that, an absolutely bonkers verse in Romans chapter 12, verse 11. Look at this. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Whew. You read that, like, again, in our culture today, the way our culture thinks about feelings and stuff, that's crazy. Because it makes you, if you're like been a Christian a while, you're like, wait a minute, I need to go to the Greek and see if never is actually never. Maybe never in the Greek means something else, right? But no, it means never, in case you're wondering. And it says, never be lacking in zeal. And zeal, I looked that up in the Greek too, it's the word zeo, and it carries this idea of like boiling or keeping something at a certain temperature. Never cool off. Or you could say, never lose your passion. And by the way, again, if you might like, it's not saying that maybe passion is just one of the options you could pick for many things, or you should consider being passionate. No, this is worded in such a way that it's telling us, like, if you've been a Christian for a while, we would consider this like a biblical command, right? I mean, when it says don't murder, it means don't murder. When it says never be lacking in zeal, it means never be lacking in zeal, right? Like, you'd put it in the same kind of a category. And to many of us, that sounds crazy. Wait a minute, did you just tell me I have to feel something? Like that, you'd put that in the same category as somebody, like if you're sad, somebody walking up to you and going, hey, why don't you just be happy? Oh, yeah, thanks for that. I didn't even think about that, right? Or the better one, when your spouse is acting crazy, and you're like, hey, why don't you just calm down? So good, so good. They just immediately just calm down, right? But couldn't you kind of put this in, like the way our culture reads this, they put it in the same category. Hey, just be happy. Hey, just calm down. Hey, just be passionate. Like, it sounds the same, right? But here's why it's not, and really all of those to a certain extent. Our culture has a very one-dimensional view of feelings. Very one-dimensional view. Our culture thinks that feelings only go in one direction, in that feelings produce action. Feelings produce action. That's very much the way our culture thinks about this. And for me, this is a huge, huge, huge problem, bigger than it seems in our culture right now. I feel like I deal with a problem that's related to this almost every week. Feelings produce actions. I feel loving, therefore I do a loving thing, right? I feel generous, therefore I'm going to give. I feel motivated, then I'm going to work out. I feel like eating an entire box of Hostess cupcakes and they're gone, right? Like I feel, and that produces an action. And it does. But we kind of act as if we are like these passive passengers on the ride and like our feelings are in the driver's seat. But I want to propose to you and to our culture that that's a pretty simplistic way of viewing your feelings, and it's a little childish. Because it's certainly partially true. I'm not saying that feelings produce action is like a falsehood. It's not, but it's only half the picture. So back to that Revelation verse, Revelation 2, 4, and 5. Jesus said, I have this complaint against you. You don't love me or each other as you did at first. Look how far you've fallen. So he's saying, hey, you got a passion problem. And we could say it different. We could say you have a feelings problem. That's the problem with the way you're feeling. It's not there. You're not at the same level you were, so you've dropped. So he's about to give them like a solution to this. You have a feelings problem. Look at what he tells them in the rest of verse 5. Turn back to me and do the works you did at first. What now? Well, Jesus, I'm sorry, they had a feeling problem. Shouldn't you say, turn back to me and feel the feelings you did at first? Shouldn't he be saying that? Get those warm fuzzies back? No. He said, no, the solution to your feelings problem is an action. Do the works you did at first. A choice, movement on your part. So what Jesus is showing us here, number one, is that you're actually not a slave to your feelings. That's certainly true that feelings produce action, but he's actually showing this the other half of the equation, that actions produce feelings. That this is not a one-way street, that's one-dimensional way of viewing your feelings. Yes, feelings produce action, but actions also produce feelings. Let me give you your weekly C.S. Lewis quote. He said this, do not waste time bothering whether you love your neighbor. Act as if you did. As soon as we do this, we find one of the great secrets. When you are behaving as if you loved someone, you will presently come to love him. Ooh, that's deep. She's saying, hey, yeah, feelings produce action. If you focus too much on that, you're going to get all cut up. He's like, don't even worry about that part. The part you can control, actions produce feelings. Do the loving things, and you'll get the loving feelings. It'll produce them. Now, you might go, I don't like that. That sounds like fake it till you make it. And that doesn't, I get it. And you might be like, that's not, I wouldn't be being authentic if I acted in a way I didn't feel. And I get it. There's a part of like fake it till you make it that I don't really like either. It seems like lying. But what if I say it this way? Because fake it till you make it sounds bad. And if you're like, I don't want to be inauthentic. Okay, what if I said instead, how about cultivate it till it grows? Do you feel less guilty? Cultivate it, because there's a seed of the feeling there. Can you at least acknowledge that? Like, hey, I want to feel a certain kind of way, so there's a seed. That means I got to water it. That means I got to make sure it's fertilized. That means I got to make sure it gets enough sun. I got to keep it out of the freezing temperatures. Like, I'm going to cultivate it till it grows. And that part, the cultivating part, you can control. Because if you think the other way and you just only do what you feel, and you claim like, well, that's me being my authentic self. Well, this is always struggle with the 11 o'clock. Like the moment I say this, it's on the internet. Is your authentic self who's God's calling you to be though? Because like, maybe God's calling you to grow and be the best you that you can be, the you he created you to be, not necessarily the you currently are. Was that a safe enough way to say that? Like, actually, your authentic self sucks. That's what I wanted to say. There, I said it. Take that clip. But okay, let me explain it this way. Like, I have an 8-year-old son, and he's awesome, and I love him, but he is in the process right now of learning that he can't just say everything he feels. And he gets it right like 1 out of 20 times right now. Most of it just comes right out of his mouth. And we're literally coaching him as a child. Hey, buddy, just because you think it doesn't mean you can say it. Just because you feel that way doesn't mean you can just shoot one off. Like, you just can't say those things. And we're trying to teach him that. Right? And it's the same thing with his moods. Like, yeah, I'm just in a bad mood, so I'm going to be mean to everybody. No, you can't. Yes, you can be angry and frustrated and upset, but you can't be mean to people. Like, we're in these conversations, and he's 8, and he's starting to get it. But why are we as adults going, actually, I'm just going to be true to myself, and this is the way I feel, so this is the way I'm going to act? No, that's a kid stuff. Adults, we shouldn't do that. A normal human adult, would say, hey, I'm going to choose principles to live by, and I'm going to live by those principles regardless of what happens in here, right? And if you're a Christian, we have what God has spoken to us in the Bible. We read the Bible, and the Bible tells us how to live and how to act and how to treat people and the attitudes we're supposed to have, and we're going to live by those, again, regardless of how we feel. We're going to choose those things. That's the way a mature adult should act. That's the way a mature Christian should act. We choose. So this is the first thing your passion needs. Your passion needs action. Your passion needs action. And this works both if you feel like you've lost it, and it works to maintain it. Because if you just have passion without action, you're eventually not going to have passion. Passion needs action to continue to renew itself. And it's also the answer for if you've lost passion. I mean, think about it. If you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, this marriage used to be really passionate, and now, look how far we've fallen. It's cooling off here. My guess is if you're feeling that, if you're sitting there and you're like, my marriage is not as passionate as it needs to be, my guess is you've probably stopped doing some things. It wasn't just a feeling problem, it also became a doing problem. You stopped doing a lot of the things, and the feeling started to drain away. So what if the solution to a feelings problem is an action thing? What if you need to go back now and start doing some loving things? And that will spark some loving feelings. It's true in your relationship with God too. If you're sitting there going, man, I used to be so like getting after it, on fire for Jesus. I was doing all that stuff. And now, well, the solution to the feeling of not being passionate about God and the things of God is probably going to be some actions. You're going to have to do some things, and the doing of the things will produce the feeling. Your passion needs action. That's the first thing it needs. Don't oversimplify it. I'm telling you, don't buy into the lie of our culture is that feelings produce action. That's the only truth. It's not. That's true, but it's also true that actions produce feelings. Your passion needs action. That's the first thing. Second thing your passion needs. It's found in Hebrews chapter 12. Verses 1 and 2, these are pretty famous verses. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race that God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, who champions and initiates, who initiates and perfects our faith. So he's saying, hey, the goal is to run with endurance, right? That's what you want to do. You want to run with endurance. And then he says, hey, strip off every weight and the sin. And that's an interesting thing, because if you're a Christian, you know that like sin is a thing we're trying to get rid of, right? Like that's where we're trying to live more like the way God's called us to live, and we're trying to get rid of sin. So a lot of times we're focused on the things that are clearly, this is something that God doesn't want me doing, so I'm going to get rid of that. But the way this is worded, the writer of Hebrews is like, hey, we need to get rid of anything that's going to slow us down in this race and the sin. So sin is one category of thing, but he's actually like, just because it's not a sin doesn't mean you should be doing it. So he's saying there's other things that you might need to get off of you to live the life that God is calling you to live. And this leads us to our second thing that your passion needs. Your passion needs focus. Your passion needs focus. And here's what I mean by that. Have you heard of the term cause fatigue? Cause fatigue, it's really interesting. I'll read you the little definition. Cause fatigue happens when someone is consistently asked or expected to care deeply about multiple, urgent, often emotionally charged issues. You feel that? When someone's asked, you're either asked or it's just expected of you to care deeply, care so deeply about multiple. They're hitting you in the face all the time, and they're urgent. You need to care right now. You can't care later. You got to care right now. And they're emotionally charged, so if you don't care, what does that say about you? And all of that's happening all of the time. And you get to the point where your heart just kind of shuts off. This produces apathy, not from laziness, but from just being overloaded. Just from being overloaded. If you ever catch me in an apathetic moment, this is why. This is mine. This one hits me so hard. Because what happens to me, I'll just give you a snapshot of this feeling for me. And this could all happen in like an hour. There's an ad for an animal shelter, so you need to care about puppies and kittens, care. There's a campaign to save the rainforest, you need to care about the trees, care. 7 emails from the school PTO because you need to care about your kid's school. You better care. There's an election coming up, so you need to care about who wins. There's a food drive, you need to care about hungry people. There's a possibility of a recession, so you need to care about the economy. There's a new documentary out, you need to care about how people are treating chickens. There's mental health awareness day or week or month, so you need to care about mental health. It's some kind of cancer month this month, you need to care about cancer. There's an HOA meeting, you better care about your neighborhood. There's too many pesticides, we need to care about the bee population. There are 7 more emails that I need to raise money for the drama department, the football team, the Girl Scouts, and the Salvation Army. You need to care, you need to care, you need to care, you need to care, you need to care. And I just want to scream back, I don't. I don't. And I don't know if you've ever gotten to that point. But what happens is you want to scream it. I just don't care. I just don't care. Stop it. Leave me alone. And then immediately, like the very next second, you feel guilty for saying that. Because think about this. This is like the landmine. This is the other part of the sermon. I'm like afraid to be on the internet because if you take some of these clips, it's going to be really dangerous. Because think about saying the sentence, hey, I don't care about puppies and kittens. Did you hear about the pastor from Mosaic doesn't care about puppies and kittens? Right? And it gets worse, right? If I say to the PTO, I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't care about the school right now. I just don't. I have 4 kids in 4 different schools. I don't care about all. I just don't care about I don't care about my kid's school. Can't say that. Or worse. I mean, some of these I'm genuinely scared to say, like, hey, there's starving kids in Africa. You want to say that sentence? Right? Like, that's scary to say. But here's the thing. Think about that. You're literally, like, some of you are nervous. Is he going to say it? Is he going to say it? Like, because you wouldn't. You better not post it, right? You better like, I don't care about this. You will get destroyed for that. But what does that mean then? Consider the implications of that. If you're afraid to say that you don't care about something, doesn't that then mean that you have to care about everything? Consider that for a minute, because like right now you're like, somebody probably runs an animal shelter. You're like, I hate you now. Like it's just gone. But consider that. If you say that you can't say the sentence that you don't care about something, that automatically means you have to care about everything. Every cause that there is in the earth right now, there are 8 billion people on the earth. You have to care about everything they care about now. You up for it? I don't think you are. And this leads to this idea that passion needs focus, because here's what would happen, and maybe what is happening for you. You're gonna go, well, I can't say the sentence that I don't care about these things, so I gotta try to. And what you're gonna do is you've got passion, you got this container of passion, this limited amount, and you're gonna go, well, I'll give a little bit here, and I'll give a little bit here, and a little bit here. And you're gonna try and give a little bit of passion to all of the things that fly across your face. And you're gonna try and care about everything. But what does that mean? What does it mean? What kind of person are you then? A person who cares a little bit about a lot of things? And does that also mean that you can't really pour deeply into anything? And all because you're afraid to say that you don't care about something. And I get it. But if you're limited, and that means your passion is limited, then you can't say the sentence that you care about everything, which means automatically that you're going to have to not care about some things. And here's the bigger implication for me. So let's use your close relationship as an example. If you're married, this is your marriage. Let's say that you're looking at your marriage and going, we have a passion problem here. I don't have quite the passion that we did before, and we gotta fix this. Usually what you'll do is, if you feel like the passion is low, is you're looking inside of the marriage to try and fix all the things that are in the marriage. We need to start a date night, we need to do this, we need to start communicating more, we need to do all these things. And you'll start trying to fix things inside of the marriage. But I wanna propose something to you. What if the problem isn't inside of your marriage? What if you've done this thing where you feel guilty saying you don't care about something, so you're giving a little bit of passion to all these places, and then you get to your marriage and you're like, oh, and you put a drop into it because that's all you have left. The problem isn't really in the marriage. The problem is that you have spent so much of your passion, so much of your caring everywhere else, that you don't have enough to give to it. That it's actually not the problem with the marriage. The problem is that you can't, without feeling horribly guilty, say that you don't care about something. And that's the consequence. That's why I want to come back and say, hold on a minute. I've got to be a better way to do this. The internet has put every cause in our face, every need in our face, so we have to find a way to filter this. So I want to propose to you that God has put you in a place, in a certain sphere of people, and he's gifted you in a certain way to do and care about certain things, and you've got to work out from that. So for me, I can give you at least some of them. Your first priority is God. Your relationship with God, that should be the first one that gets the most passion. Your relationship with God needs that. Your second one, if you're married, is your spouse. She or he gets the next level of passion. And if you have kids, they're third. Third, not second, third. Get it right. Stop putting your kids above your spouse. Email me later, I'll talk. God, spouse, kids. God, close relationships. But out from there, you have less and less passion. You need to focus on the ones that God has called you to. Which means, for me, Mine's my relationship with God, my relationship with my wife, my kids, the church. Like, that's the focus of my passion. So I will say the sentence, I don't care about puppies and kittens, compared to what I'm doing here, okay? But here's the deal. This is the beautiful way God made the earth. Somebody does care about puppies and kittens. Somebody is called to Africa to help those kids who are starving over there. Good, God bless them. I want them to get after. They need to get after. They need to do the thing they're called to do and be passionate about that. And I need to be passionate about the things that he's called me to. You can't do everything. You can't. So find the things that God has called you to and get after it and trust that God's got other people to care about the other things. Stop letting everybody pull you into their causes. The big thing I need you to hear, if this is something you struggle with, is you need to be able to say no in a guilt-free way. A guilt-free way. Because, and the mindset I want you to have, instead of like, the PTO needs brownies again, and if I don't make them, then, they're not gonna, have stickers or something? I'm sorry. People who run animal shelters and PTO, people are gonna hate me today. They just happen to be the illustrations. Listen, I could pick anything. But if you allow all these things, and what you spend money you shouldn't, you use time and energy you shouldn't, and what the mentality I want you to have is you're stealing from the people who you should be spending it with. That's what it'll give you more confidence to say, I'm sorry, no, I can't do that. Because I care more about my relationship with God, my relationship with my spouse, my relationship with the kids. I'm not gonna spread my passion out, my care out so much that those things get neglected. I'm not gonna let it happen. So you should have almost like a defensive thing, like I need to defend my passion. I need to make sure it's focused on the things that God's called me to. I do not wanna just spread it around. If you spread around your passion, you're not gonna have enough for the places that matter. Guilt-free, no. No. I went to Lowe's and Giant Eagle yesterday and I got asked 3 separate times for a donation for I don't know because I didn't even read the whole sentence. No. Right? If I read an email that says, would you consider? No, I'm good. I'm full of everything. If a Girl Scout walks up to me and says, would you consider, do you have the peanut butter kind? It's a different reason for a yes there. You got to pick though. You got to pick. I want you to not feel guilty about focusing your passion. God did not call you to be passionate about everything. He called you to be deeply passionate about a few things and dive into those. That's the kind of life God wants you to live. So your passion needs action and your passion needs focus. And I just want to say, just so far, just with those two, you're going to get pulled. Our culture does not want you to structure your life where you acknowledge those two things that your passion needs. All right, here's the last thing. It's found in Hebrews as well, in chapter 10, verses 24 and 25. And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another all the more as you see the day approaching. Day is capitalized because that's the last one. So what this is saying is that, hey, one of the other things that's going to happen in your life is you're going to be pulled away from people, from community in your life. And your passion, the last thing it needs is your passion needs company. Your passion needs company. See, passion, the way God created passion to work, kind of struggles on its own. Passion doesn't do very well. God created us in a really unique way in that humans seem to both feed off of other people's passion and we feed other people's passion. So it's this synergistic multiplying kind of effect that we have. When you're around passionate people, passion, it's not that they take your passion or you take their passion. Passion seems to multiply when it's around other people who are passionate. This summer, you're gonna have a bunch of bonfires, right? Look at those embers that are in the fire when it starts to die down and you get those really hot coals right in the bottom. Watch if one kind of pops out of the fire and rolls off to the side. Watch that ember. It'll sit there, and for a while it'll be hot. It'll be glowing. And if you watch it a little bit more, it'll start to dim, it'll start to cool. And eventually, it'll just be this little black lump sitting on the ground. You stepped on it, it would turn to nothing, just ash. And I want you to, that's the illustration. You're the ember. and the heat is your passion. And if you get out there by yourself, your passion doesn't do very well by itself. But if you have a whole bunch of embers together, you've got a fire, right? Your passion needs company. So again, I want to ask you a question like, what if, back to your relationships, if your relationship, the passion's waning and it doesn't feel like it should, it feels off, I want to ask you something. Who are you hanging out with? Are all your close friends bitter and nasty about their husbands all the time? Are all your close friends talk about their wives like an evil nag? If the people who are close to you are not passionate about their spouses or their close relationships, of course you're struggling to keep yours up. One of the ways passion works is if you feed off of others. So what if it's the problem isn't inside of the marriage? What if the problem is the stuff you're doing outside of the marriage? You need other people to fuel your passion. Same question about your relationship with God. Saying, hey, I'm not feeling it. My passion for God is not what it should be, not what it used to be. Well, okay. Who are the people you're hanging out with? Are they passionate about God? Are they pursuing a deep relationship with God? If they're not, of course it's struggling, right? And I know this is a hard thing because I'm telling you, but isn't that what the verse we just read said? Hey, don't neglect gathering together with other believers who are passionate about the things of God, because you actually need that. Your little ember needs to be snugged up with other embers, and when we're together, something synergistic and multiplication happens of our passion for God. And if you get away from believers, it's going to go cold. He created you that way. You can be frustrated with it all you want, but that's the way God created you to be. Isn't that crazy that what I'm saying is you could tweak your passion level in certain areas of your life just by being intentional about who you're spending time with? And look at this, actually back up and look at all of them. Because you want to say, I can't control how passionate I am about things. True, not in the moment, but you can do some loving things that produce loving feelings. You can do some passionate things that will produce passion. So your actions can actually do some things. You can focus. You can say no to some things and actually try to save your passion for the things that matter and not spend it on all the other things because you feel guilty about it. And you can be real intentional about who you spend time with. And if you do that, those three things that your passion needs, action, focus, and company, then actually maybe you could do something about your passion level. It's not a today or tomorrow thing, but over time, you will become a very passionate person in those areas if you do these things. It'll produce it. And again, the choice is, do you want to be a passionate person or an apathetic person? You know the answer. I don't have to convince you of that. And this matters. And let me also say this, if maybe you're sitting here and you're not a Christian and you're just kind of curious, somebody invited you and you're sitting here and you're not a person of faith yet, I want to say to you, when it comes to passion, my guess is that in your life, you've probably lived searching for things to be passionate about, right? That's just what we do. Our heart seems to want to find something to be passionate about. So you've probably lived your life trying to be passionate about different things. And if you've noticed, you'll get passionate about something that'll die. You'll get passionate about something that'll die. You get passionate about something. And even when you are passionate, it doesn't quite click in your heart. Something's not quite there. And what I want to tell you, from my perspective, the reason that is because God created your heart to work in such a way that it's only going to be satisfied. It's only going to be truly find its passion itself if it's plugged into its creator. And that's the thing that actually clicks, is you need a relationship with God. And that'll fix a huge part of this passion problem that you have. You've been trying to find the thing in all these other places, but you're not going to find it. It's God. So the way to live this rightly passionate life, this is what Jesus said. Jesus said he came that he would give us life and life to the full. That's the life that Jesus is offering. And I want to say, man, I think you're here for a reason, and you can start a relationship with God right now. You can pray a prayer of surrender. You can pray a prayer where you ask God for forgiveness and begin a relationship with him right now. And man, I would pray that God would just have something just click in your soul and that you would know, oh, that's the thing. That's what I was created for. Passion. You need it. And you're going to float towards apathy. Gravity's going towards apathy. You have to swim upstream to live a passionate life. Stand up. Let's pray. Lord, I pray for the person who walked in here feeling drained, feeling spread too thin, feeling like they're running on empty. I pray for the person whose relationship is dry, Lord. I pray that you would move in their hearts right now, that you would show them. I pray that you would begin the process of igniting that passion in their hearts, Lord. I pray for the marriages that have gone cool right now, Lord. I pray you'd heat them back up. I pray that you would show them some action steps to get after here. Lord, I pray that you would help some other people in this room say some guilt-free no's. They've said yes to too many things. They've given their passion to too many things, and they need it back. Lord, I pray that they would say no to some things. And Lord, I pray for relationships to spark, for passion to be contagious. I pray for the person who hasn't accepted you yet, Lord. I pray that their heart would be waking up right now, even now, that it would sense that you're near, be drawn to you. I pray that they would surrender their life to you right now. And Lord, I pray for this church. I want the word passionate to describe this place, Lord. I want apathy to be driven from here, Lord. I want us to be so passionate that when people come here, they catch it a little bit, even if they don't even know what it is. They come here and they get warmed up. I pray that this would be a passionate church, Lord, for you and for what you've done for us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.